You. I've seen you. Let me see your face. You are the one from my dreams. Gods give me strength.
The Oblivion remake gets off to a faithful start by allowing you to commit absolute atrocities on the character creation screen. Simply whack all the sliders to their maximum or minimum values and you'll be left with something quite spectacular. Less than a day after release and the internet is already full of spicy memes surrounding the character creation screen and the game as a whole. You must immediately subscribe to the subreddit Oblivion Abominations, since it's going to be the hub of dank memes for the foreseeable future. It's crazy how much the internet itself has changed since Oblivion's initial release. Here are a few screenshots I took of the official forums just before the game's release back in 2006. Back then, you can see it was a lot more about generating discussion than it was about sharing media. Though I've got to say, I think it's a bit more amusing today. So, let's dive on in and see what happens if I max out the sliders for each race of character. And then choose some fun hair based on what I think looks best. While there are 10 races, in total I'll be maxing out the sliders 20 times because there's a male and female option for each. Don't worry, I'm going to make both look equally ridiculous. While I'm on this page, I've decided the one slider I'm not going to max out each time is the skin tone one. I'll just randomly assign a slider value for this every time. It's fine because their skin tone's going to end up looking bright green or red or blue anyway. Right, with that out of the way, let's have some fun. We'll start with the Argonians, which I think are one of the most boring races because they're meant to look silly. So I'm not even sure if maxing out all the sliders will make them look sillier. So here you go, here's male and here's female. I love the graphics, it makes their skin look really waxy and shiny. Gorgeous. Bretons are human, or at least I think they're humans, so the potential for ridiculous looking characters is quite immense. It's the cheeks, face and forehead values which I think contribute most to achieving that classic Oblivion look. I like to imagine during development, some poor soul had to really decide on how much flexibility to add to each of these options. I think they chose about as much variation as they could get away with without it intentionally looking silly. Although you can still achieve something silly looking. As an example of this, look at these dark elves, who are perfect for this sort of experiment because they already look ridiculous, have the hairstyles to match, and the sliders can slide far enough to stretch their face out like a pancake. Here I'm not trying to be an artist, I'm merely maxing out all of the sliders. So here's the male dark elf, maxed out slider wise, and here's the female one, with nice matching eyes and lips. Really nailing that 10th facelift look. High elves are also quite good for maxing out all the sliders on, being like a different coloured version of the dark elves. Abusing the sliders transformed this graceful race of creatures into something from the Riddlers, combined with a jacket potato. This better not awaken anything in me. Imperials. Skyrim was very much about the Nords, but Oblivion is all about Imperial scum. My male character ended up looking like a veteran dwarven cobbler, in a good way. Meanwhile, my female Imperial looked like she had consumed too much silver solution. But again, it kind of works. Well done Unreal 5, colour me impressed. It looks like extra effort has gone into making the Khajiits look good even at maximum slider settings. I'm not sure what that says about this game's intended audience, but yeah, there's definitely a cool Hunter from Spyro kind of vibe from the maxed out male character build here. And fur just seems to go with any colour, it's just not fair. Luckily I was able to make the female variety look quite a bit more ridiculous, in part because she's got a much more manly beard than my male cat did, but also thanks to the Last of Us cordyceps hairstyle that she's got going on. When coupled with a Shrek green, I think it looks suitably Oblivion-esque. Nords. Let's see what Ogrub could potentially look like in Oblivion, again. Just for reference, this is my maxed out character build that I made back in 2011 when I last attempted to beat Oblivion without the levelling system working against me. It failed, but with this remaster's new, improved and not so broken levelling system, who knows what will happen this time. Overall, the Unreal 5 version of this game needs a few more scar settings, a one-eye blinded look and a less happy disposition, but I could see this working as a base for a new Ogrub character. I particularly like the just run into a wall look to his nose. And the female Nord, all sliders maxed out, doesn't look too out of place for a homely, friendly kind of woman, probably running a tavern or pub up in the mountains somewhere. It still looks better than most Dragon Age Veilguard characters. Orcs. You thought the other races had flexibility? Well, orcs are meant to be ugly, and their sliders reflect that by sliding further than any other race does. Sliding the age to maximum gives their skin a delightfully pockmarked appearance. This is the race you want to choose if you intend to look like a 2-month-old pizza that you might find down the back of the sofa or whatever. And by the time I was done with my sliders, I was left with a creature that even the orc race would probably reject. But that's nothing compared to my male character, who ended up looking like one of those shriveled up peas that hides underneath a cabinet for a few years. I can't wait to see the variations of orc builds that people eventually come up with. The sky's the limit. The eye settings of the Redguard gave my female character an odd 1,000-yard stare which persisted throughout the rest of her customization, and her nose ended up protruding through her lips like she'd been hole-punched or something. Meanwhile, I went with the whitest Redguard possible for my male character and achieved this fantastic specimen of a character. Though something about the hair looks more like wood shavings than it does an afro to me. Maybe bright yellow would have been more befitting. Speaking of bright yellow hair, the Wood Elves. The race I always aspired to be in Morrowind, until I stepped out of the office and ran headfirst into Fargoth. These creatures look ridiculous by default. There's a reason the Adoring Fan is a Wood Elf. My Type 2 character ended up looking like something you'd find washed up on the shore somewhere. And oddly, my female build looked a little bit too much like a High Elf, until I decided to paint her orange to look like a pumpkin. But man, that hair is gorgeous. These are not the most horrific creations you can create, only the maxed out slider versions of each character. I can assure you there's a lot more to explore within these menus. When I first saw the insane character builds everyone was posting online, I worried they would only be achievable via abused console commands or hidden settings that most people wouldn't use. But I needn't have feared. The characters you can create using Oblivion's built-in menu system can look just as silly as those from the original game. Thing is, they don't have to. They can also look like real people now as well. The Oblivion memes don't have to exist. But they will, because the sliders allow for it. And the game, and indeed this world that we live in, will be a better place for it. So please, game devs, allow for more extreme slider settings. Let us ramp the facial expressions to 500%, to let our foreheads protrude and our noses to shrivel up and to disappear into a Voldemort-like hole. Give us Simpsons lips, egg heads, and more control over our ears. So what if our hair sticks up 5 feet above our characters and through the ceiling above? Or for our eyes to poke through our eyelids? It's a fantasy world. Let me live out my fantasy. So what can I say? This remake is off to a great start. Poor Patrick Stewart. If anything, Patrick Stewart's dreams have only grown darker since 2006.
But for all these years, I've never been the ruler of my own dreams. I have seen the gates of Oblivion, beyond which no waking eye may see. Behold, you are the one from my dreams.